Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Rianda. If you don't recognize me by now, your English teacher. I just wanted to say great job for so many of you guys. You worked so hard on completing that first and final draft of your cover letter or your college essays. And I have to tell you, I had so much fun grading your writing. I know that sounds goofy, but I just feel like I learned a lot about most of you, either in your cover letter or your essay. In your first drafts, I really gave you the bulk of my feedback. So in your final drafts, when you do get your final drafts back later this week, you'll see that I just included a rubric along with some feedback because the bulk of my feedback was done with the first draft. And hopefully you took advantage of all that feedback and updated your essays and your cover letters. If you have any questions about that assignment, please let me know. Again, I'll have it all into Schoology by the end of this week. Now this week, however, we are moving on up. We are moving from writing for application to Unit 2, Critical Theory and Short Stories. And you can see that I have the tentative schedule. There's only 3 sessions in this unit. And so you can see those 3 weeks basically lined up. I also wanted to point out, super duper important, that this Friday, the 20th, is the last day to submit all late work for Unit 1. And you will receive, remember, 75% credit potentially on any assignments in Unit 1 except discussion. And unfortunately, there is a lot of discussion. Well, not unfortunately, fortunately, because you guys do an incredible job in discussion, but you cannot make that up. So be aware of that throughout this semester, because if you miss out on discussion, 20 points here, 30 points there, it really adds up. So it really encourages you to stay current and stay with the class to get the most points that you possibly can, and engage and interact with your classmates, which a lot of you guys are just so good at. Okay, so clicking on Critical Theory and Short Stories, this unit is really going to be focusing on reading short stories through different lenses. You're going to be reading short stories and looking at them through a few different theories. And the first theory this week, which is probably going to be your favorite, I think, is through the reader response theory, which I'll go into in just a minute. So here is our session plan for the week, and like I mentioned, we are going to be learning about critical theories, reviewing short story terms, and doing some really interesting stuff this week. A couple of announcements. Remember, I'm really lonely during this help session at 11 o'clock on every Wednesday, and this is the time, if you want to come to these sessions, I will walk you through the bigger assignments of the session. So for example, this week, I would walk you through the reader response journal to the short story, The Sniper. So it's not recorded because it's really just a help session. So if you come to those sessions, you'll get a lot of help. Also, be sure to check those grades weekly. If you are missing assignments or I've asked you to redo the assignments, make sure you let me know, because I do not know when you resubmit work. And I don't go back unless I have to. So it's really your responsibility. You need to be your advocate of letting me know, hey, Mrs. Rianda, respectfully, could you please check that assignment from Unit 1, Session 2? Okay? Remember net etiquette. I don't like capital letters in the email. So please be respectful in your tone, which is something you learned a lot about last week in your application writing. Also really important that Mr. Self wanted me to remind all of you that you need to change your Jeffco password. Jeffco requires all students, even seniors, to periodically reset their passwords. I even had to do this in the summer as an employee, and it's for safety and security. So be sure by the 30th that you go in and change your password. And the link's right here, and I'm sure you find it everywhere else too. But just click on this link and do it now, just so you don't forget, because if you don't, you will be locked out of Schoology, and I know that that will make you very frantic. come October 1st, basically. Okay? Remember, another thing, like I mentioned earlier, this Friday is the last day for all the late work, so make sure you get that submitted. And here are all of the assignments that are due this week, along with our suggested schedule. So day 1, I suggest watching the recording, which we are doing right now. Review the short story terms and start thinking about a movie and how you can apply those short story terms to the movie. Please don't use the example. I think I used Aladdin. Don't use that example. You can use another Disney movie because they're really easy to use, but do not use Aladdin. Be sure that you also review the information on reader response theory. I also will have a video on that as well. And then make an initial response to the reader response theory discussion. And be sure to follow up later this week at least 2 times. And it doesn't count if you just respond to other people responding to your post. You need to post your initial post responding to the questions, and then you need to respond to 2 other people's posts. So if you're just having a conversation with people within your post, it doesn't really count. It does count, but you also need to get out of your own post. You need to go to other people's posts and create and participate in those discussions. Later in the week, be sure to read and print out and read. I'm a big advocate of printing out material. The Sniper, it will be helpful to mark up as you read. And when you're reading it, after you're done reading it, you're going to write a reader response journal on the Sniper, and then revise and edit it on the next day and submit it on day 5, and make sure that you do your final posts. So that's our agenda for the week. Again, I've embedded a couple of videos throughout this session. If you have any questions this week, please contact me. Thank you.